to the Thrive Show. My name is Kim O'Neill, and today I have with me here Keith Senzer. Keith helps teenagers find their true north and follow it through their words and actions to create a more loving, accepting, responsible, and committed adult who has the power to ensure their own future success and help heal our world. Welcome, Keith.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. So Keith, we're going to get right into it. I know that you have your own experience with feeling like you didn't fit in during middle school and high school, and where you ended up realizing your own career passion of empowering youth through your own kids, and have now helped many other teenagers as well. I want to first ask you, why do you believe there should be more character development taught in school today?
So, just look at the teen suicide rates in the country right now, not just in the United States, but around the world. And a lot of that stems from, unfortunately, bullying or kids not understanding differences that other kids may display. There's a lot of kids with special needs. As I had said, I have a daughter with generalized anxiety disorder and a son with ADHD. And, that definitely impacted their whole persona. And when somebody doesn't speak to you kindly, that just really eats away at your self-esteem. And, we do such a good job teaching math and science and social studies and all the skills that to some degree they need, until they get to college. But I feel like we don't do enough teaching just how to be kind, how to be conscious of their words, what they say to others, how they can be hurtful, and what they say to themselves, like the whole prophecy, the self-fulfilling prophecy, if you say something, it's going to come to pass. If you believe in yourself, you'll be successful. So I think just they need to learn to be kinder. They need to learn how to communicate better. They need to learn to use words that are going to serve them and not words that are going to hold them back. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. It does make sense. And social media plays such a prominent role in the lives of many teens today. Do you see social media playing a role in their self-esteem and ability to excel?
Absolutely. I call cell phones weapons of mass distraction.
Oh.
And, yeah. So, it's like when I coach teens, I tell them all the time, don't leave your phone next to you when you're doing your homework, because when you start working, you get to this mode where you're like, all right, I'm at my peak capacity right now. I'm good. I got this. I'm writing away. My essay sounds great. And then the phone rings and you pick it up and you literally, you just became like dumb. Like you have to start all over again to get back to that level that you were working at. So it takes them longer to do their work. So that's one detriment. The other detriment is just this whole fear of missing out, and the dopamine hit that they get when they get a like, whether it's on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, that whole mindset, it's not healthy. I think cell phones are great for connecting people. But at one point, when they get abused and it becomes your whole life, and bullying, cyberbullying is tremendous. So, weapons of mass distraction, and they can be very hurtful if they're not used in the right way.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Yeah, weapons of mass distraction, definitely eating away at someone's ability to build up their focus muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the bullying, people will say things on social media that they wouldn't say to your face because
Right.
it's easy to hide behind the computer, behind the phone. But, I always teach kids, I'm like, when one of the exercises we do, I talk about that. I'm like, if you would say this here, if you're not going to say it to their face, you shouldn't be saying that on social media,
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah. I know that you also emphasize the value of authenticity and vulnerability for teens. What would you say is the best way for them to do that, though, especially if they aren't already feeling confident in who they are, or maybe concerned about social media and their image and things like that?
Well, the vulnerability piece is, and honestly, this isn't just teens. Many people look at vulnerability as a weakness and don't realize that your vulnerability is probably your most powerful place to be. And when you're being vulnerable and authentic, that's when you will make progress and people will see you for who you are and respond accordingly. So I think with teens, it's very hard to be vulnerable. Especially one of the things I think that's great about having a coach is the teens, they're not going to tell their parents everything, because they have to be vulnerable to their parents, and they don't want to be vulnerable. They want to please their parents. They want to make them happy. They don't want to disappoint them, and they don't understand your parents are not going to be disappointed and unhappy. They want what's best for you, and they're just going to try to teach you as well. But you don't always want to hear it from the people you love.
Right.
So I try to teach them the piece of how vulnerability is really stepping into your power and not giving away your power and not allowing others to dictate how you're going to feel. And, I do this through conversation and through certain exercises and whatnot, but absolutely the key is teaching them that vulnerability is a powerful place to come from, and authenticity is a powerful place to come from, and it's not a weak place to come from. Because I believe that's a belief system they adopt based on what goes on around them and just their experiences in school and, just growing up.
Yeah. Will you say a little bit more about the power of words?
Sure. So I talk a lot about internal and external dialogue. Internal dialogue being, like I never forget, I was doing a workshop and I had this girl tell me, I asked her, what are the things that you struggle with? And she said, oh, I'm really bad at math. And I said, oh, well, why do you say you're bad at math? Well, I'm really struggling in this math class I'm in. I'm like, so is it like remedial math? Like, are you is it are you in a special class? She goes, no, I'm in honors math. I'm like, you're in honors math, but you're telling me that you think you're bad at math. I go, think about what you just said to me. And she goes, well, I am bad. I'm struggling in that class. I go, but you're in honors math. You don't get put in honors math unless you're really good at math. You might need help and you might be struggling, and it's okay to acknowledge that. But saying I'm bad at math, you're convincing yourself you're bad, And so just that type of thing, or I stink at tennis, or I'm not going to make the basketball team, or these people don't like me. Like when you say things like that, not only do you bring yourself down, but other people hear that and they're going to respond accordingly. You're going to attract that back. And the external dialogue is like what I was saying about bullying and just the words you say. We're quick to speak sometimes, but we don't always think about what we say and how what we say has an impact on other people. And I just think it's so important, name calling, or just even understanding people's personalities. Not everybody can take a joke. Not everybody's, if they're lacking a little self-confidence, they can be a little more sensitive. And you have to be sensitive to their sensitivities. If you just going to speak your mind and say something and that person might get upset, why would you say it? So it's just use kind words. And that's really what I'm really, as adults, look at the world we live in. I feel like we've done a pretty bad job of creating this harmonious world, and my hope is that I could teach these kids to grow up to be, committed and loving and responsible, successful, but also to do good in this world, to take what they learn and to take this good humanity that they have inside them and share it with other people so we can create a better world. We can have a happier, healthier, less divisive, and just, less cruel world, because unfortunately there's a lot of hatred, a lot of bigotry, and a lot of racism in this world, and we need to get rid of that. And it starts with the young people, because if we don't teach them to believe that, they won't grow up with those beliefs.
Yeah. I really hear that self-awareness piece coming through and having a ripple effect on everyone else around the individual, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, to further empower teens, you recommend that they ask themselves more questions before they take action. What are some examples of questions that teenagers can start to ask themselves?
I think sometimes it's just in general, they need to think before they react. And just to give another example, I had a girl in the group that I was doing a workshop with, and she told me a story about a friend of hers who they kept having plans to go to lunch, and she kept canceling on her because she just didn't want to tell her why. And she kept canceling. And a friend eventually ditched her, and it turned out she was anorexic. And she didn't want to go to lunch because she was afraid and embarrassed by this. So instead of her friend maybe saying, hey, we've been friends a long time. Why are you canceling? Is everything okay? This is not like you. Just doing a little more digging instead of making it about you right away. Yeah. She might have confided in her and said, you know what, I'm struggling with anorexia. And she could have been a support system, and it could have went in a whole different direction. Instead, the friendship broke apart. So, even with your parents, like I always joke around, the one thing I'll teach you is how to get whatever you want from your parents, because they want to give you everything you want, but you don't know how to ask for it. So scenarios come up where kids just, they react, or, my parents I was supposed to go to my friend's house, and my parents asked me to stay home and babysit, and I'm really angry about it because I wanted to go out. Well, I get that, but what's the benefit there? Maybe there's a benefit. Think to yourself. It doesn't always have to be a question you ask others. It can be a question in your head. What's the benefit here? I might make some money for babysitting. I can bond with my sister or my brother. My parents think I'm responsible. Like, there's a lot of benefit from this. It's not all about, hey, so I can't go to the party, or I can't go out with my friends to the movie. There's more to it. It's just asking questions for clarity. Asking questions for clarity, because when you start to ask questions, you don't make assumptions. It's a much better chance that you're going to communicate better, and the overall result for both parties is going to be beneficial.
That's a really great point. Yeah, absolutely. Don't make assumptions and think before you jump to a conclusion, for sure. Wonderful. Keith, well, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom and expertise. I really enjoyed speaking with you today.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you to our audience for being with us today. We hope that you found value in today's conversation.